It's been forever since I just made a simple crochet plushie tutorial. So let's crochet this cute little rice ball together. He's really easy to make and quick because he's tiny. I'll show you how to make this cute little wiggly mouth and also like a normal smile if you prefer that. I originally included the pattern for this guy in my Sushi Cat and Friends pattern. The PDF was so big I had to separate the how-to section and put it in with the printer-friendly version because the PDF just way too big because it had cats, kittens, minis, and 3 extra friends. But sometimes I post this guy and people don't even know I have a pattern for him because he's not on the main image of the Sushi Cat pattern. So I made a separate PDF for all of the sushi friends, and I even added a bunch of new guys. They're all in the main listing photo so everyone will know where they are. If you buy the Sushi Cat friend pattern though, you'll still get the original 3. Let's head over to my desk and I'll show you all of the new little sushi friends. Okay, so here's the little rice ball guy. Then we also have matcha mochi. And you could turn this into any type of mochi you like. You could make mango or strawberry or vanilla. I love mochis, but they don't sell them at the grocery store where I live now. A little dumpling. And you could change the colors of this guy and turn him into basically any food item that looks kind of like this, like an empanada or even a pierogi maybe. And then I reworked some of the sushi kittens into just little sushi rice balls. These are super easy to make. Little shrimpy, avocado slices, and they literally took me like maybe 10 minutes to make. This was an idea I had when I made the Sushi Cat pattern, but like I was saying, the PDF was huge, so I didn't include these. They're just really easy little sushi slices. I made a California one and then an avocado roll. And these little bows I was thinking about as ginger and wasabi. I'm going to be using a 6.5mm crochet hook, an edamame little stitch marker, scissors I had to tie to my desk because mine keep going missing, polyfill stuffing. I'm going to be using 18mm kawaii style eyes that I painted. I only have purple and gold left, but purple actually might look pretty cool. The backs of these eyes are super hard to attach, so I'm going to be using one of my new eye tools that I designed and made, a cotton worsted weight yarn to add the smile. And you don't have to add eyes and a smile if you don't want to. You could just make them a cute little rice ball. Arlene's fabric fusion to secure the mouth down. And I'm going to be using Bernat blanket yarn. For the white, this is called Vintage White. You could use any type of yarn you like. Premier Basics Brights is a good alternative to Bernat blanket, and they have a really nice green color. Just be aware if you're using a yarn that's thinner than this, your plushie will come out smaller. And he's already small to begin with, so you might make a mini one. Speaking of green, I ran out of malachite green from Bernat blanket, and the closest craft store is like 20 minutes on the highway away from me, and I don't feel like going there right now. So we're going to repurpose something we have had for years. This is one of the Bernat blanket, I think it's called Ombre. And I initially bought it with the idea of making a blanket out of Bernat blanket, which is something I've never done. But this is a really pretty green. I could definitely use this green or even this. It looks very dark on camera, but this is a darker green color I could use. If you order Bernat blanket malachite online, half the time you'll get the old Brillo pad style of Bernat, and the other half you'll get the newer style. I would recommend just ordering from Premier because their emerald is really pretty. I just used all mine. And for the little blush, we're going to be using Bernat blanket in the color Coral Blossom. If you like my videos and want to support me as an artist, you can always pick up a PDF version of my patterns. That really helps me. You could join my Patreon and be the first to see all of my new stuff and get free patterns every month. Or you could just like, comment, and subscribe and do all that YouTube stuff. Everything counts and it all means a lot to me. Okay, let's get started on making this cute little plushie. So for the people who don't like making a magic circle, you're in luck. We're going to start this plushie off with a chain. So make a slip knot, place it on your hook, and then we're going to chain 11. I'm filming this the day after the 4th of July, and I had a lot of fun with my family yesterday. We got some fireworks from a little store, and they gave us a free one. Why was the free one like catatonic level 20, the most insane firework you've ever seen, and all the ones we got were like little sparklers? Yeah, we definitely weren't expecting the free one to blast us into space, but it was pretty awesome. I hope everyone else had a good 4th of July too, Independence Day. Okay, there's our chain 11. So now This chain right here was the last one we made. We're going to skip that one. That's basically just going to give us the height for when we turn. Oh, I forgot. We're also going to need a yarn needle. So that's the last one we made. That's the 11th chain. We're going to work right into the top of the 10th chain. So just skip that guy and go right into there. And now we're going to make 10 single crochets, one into the top of each chain loop. I keep saying I'm going to do these simple little videos, like of this rice ball and of the bread, and then I end up just like expanding the pattern and making it totally something new. I don't know, because revisiting my old patterns, I think of ways to make them better. And kind of like the bread pattern, I could show you at the end of this video. I feel like I made it a lot better. So there we go. There's 10. And now instead of working row by row and chaining and then going back down here, we're gonna work around and work on the other side of the chain. This little end part, it's really hard to work in. You just kind of skip that. You should just have 10 single crochets working your way back down the other side until we reach this point where it was the chain that we skipped. So just try not to fight it. You don't really have to. And if you reach the end and you have 9, you can futz it and just like add 1. It's no big deal at the beginning. And just working into each chain. I think it would be fun to make a big version of this little rice ball to have it as like a pillow. I had to stop myself though. If I just keep remaking my old patterns, it could be endless. I just wanted to make a little video. 8, 9. So now we're about to make our 10th stitch, and as you can see, this is the chain that we skipped, and it's kind of awkward and stands out. So you could always grab him before you go into that last chain, and that way it'll just kind of secure that part down and we won't have to worry about seeing that on the bottom. So there we go. We have our base level down, and I know that's a little different than doing a magic circle, but it's pretty easy and it's a cool way to make plushies in different shapes that aren't perfectly circular. I like to place my stitch marker in the last stitch of each row. You should make a decision now if you're going to be placing your stitch marker in the last stitch of each row or the first stitch of each row, because you don't want to change what you're doing halfway through and have everything be kind of messed up. So for row 2, we're going to go around again, and we're basically going to add some increases on either side so it flares out a little. Let's start off the row by making an increase in the first stitch. And then we're going to work 8 single crochets all the way down. Three. This white yarn is kind of harder to see on camera than other colors. Sorry about that. 7, 8. Now let's make some increases when we go around the corner. We're going to make 3 increases. So an increase is just 2 single crochets made together in the same stitch. That's 1. That's 2. And that's 3. There we go. We made it around the corner. Just warning you guys, it is officially July 5th, which means it is the start of Halloween season. I have a few more patterns lined up I'm going to do first, but I'm definitely working on my Halloween sketches and everything because it's my favorite time of the year. Alright, let's end with 2 increases right here. You remember how we started off with 1? And that way we'll have 3 increases on either side and both sides will match. We're just doing the other 2 to finish it up. Okay, there we go, finished row 2. I feel like we're almost already done the plushie, okay? So now we're just gonna single crochet around for 4 rows. And you should have 26 stitches, but like, honestly, it's not the end of the world if you don't. It'll be fine. If you don't have 26, if you have 25 or 24, I don't know. Because it is easy, like when you start, to miss one or something because you're working in a chain. Just like add it in or something. No one will notice. Look how small this guy is. No one will notice, you know? It's not a big deal. So if you have an off number, just fix it really quick. I mean, if it's really super off, like 12, you might want to go back and redo it. But if it's a little off, you're fine. I'm making 1 single crochet in every stitch. I know there's a big debate about yarn over, yarn under, especially in like the amigurumi plushie community. A lot of people feel very strongly either way. I never noticed how I made my stitches before until people started asking me if I did it on purpose. Because I kind of do a yarn under and then a yarn over. But it's just how my mom taught me how to do crochet stitches when I was a kid. And when I first started making plushies and getting like really into it, I tried to change the way I was making my stitches and do both of them yarn under. And I just like physically can't. It's like ingrained in my muscle memory how to make a single crochet this way, and I'm not able to change it and crochet peacefully. I could change it and like really pay attention for each stitch, but who wants to do that? The whole point of crocheting is just to kind of zone out and make something. Okay, I'll keep crocheting around and I'll meet you guys there. I'm fully confident you can crochet around for 4 rows on your own. So there we go, 4 rows of single crochet. I usually don't move my stitch marker just because I'm very used to crocheting. This is how I do it. So 1 row, 2 row, 3 row, 4 row. And if you can see, the one to the right of it will be the one that's directly on top, will be the last single crochet of each row. So that's how I do it. But if you're new to crocheting, you should totally move the stitch marker after each row. And you can see we kind of got a nice little envelope shape going. And the initial pattern I made for this, I just did 3 single crochet rows. But then, I don't know, I didn't really love the look when I remade it, so I added an extra row and I think it helped. Now we're going to be doing a little bit of decreasing before we stop to add the eyes. So for this first row, we're just going to be doing 2 decreases. So we're going to do 11 single crochets and then a decrease. Sometimes I have to add these rows that are kind of weird to just subtract 2 stitches because it helps make the decrease gradual. And also sometimes I have to get back to specific numbers that I like. There's 11 and we're going to make an invisible decrease, which is just pulling up the front loop only of the next 2 stitches and making a normal single crochet, and that'll turn 2 of the stitches into 1 and make the plushie start to go in. So pull up front loop only, the next 2, single crochet normally. Now let's make another 11. And then the last 2 stitches of your row should be where we're making the next decrease. And again, like I said earlier, if you don't have the right amount, just kind of fake it. It's fine. It's no big deal. We're not doing anything super complicated with this plushie. Okay, so there's the last 2. So we're going to pull up the front loop, and then single crochet normally. For this row, we're going to be doing the same thing, only a little different. We're going to be doing 4 single crochets and then an invisible decrease repeated around. I'm so excited for Halloween. It's my favorite time of year. I just moved to like the most beautiful place on earth. If you guys have any video ideas of stuff you'd like me to show you, definitely leave it in the comments. I could make another ghost video. You liked my ghost video last year. I know I definitely want to try to design a pretty raven, maybe like more of a realistic looking one, because there's so many ravens around my house. We've been leaving stuff out for them to try and make friends, because like, have you ever seen the videos of where people become friends with the ravens? It's so cool. So there we go, and you can start to see the decrease now. When we did just the 2 decreases, you probably wouldn't be able to, but now that we did 4, you can start to see it curving in. Made that cute little rice ball shape. So now let's just single crochet really quickly. The reason for this kind of random row of single crochet and that we don't just keep decreasing is because we want the decrease to be pretty gradual and kind of more of a cone triangular shape. We don't really want the decrease to be a flat circle or like happen really quickly. We want to make it like a fun little cone, like how rice bowls look in real life. And adding this row of single crochet in there helps make the decreases more gradual. And now we're at a great spot to stop. I'll add the eyes now, but I'll wait until the end to add the mouth and blush, just to make sure we're getting it in the right spot, because sometimes when you stuff a plushie, stitches move a little and it looks a little funny, so it might be easier to add the mouth at the end. But we can add the eyes now. Actually, I'm not sure if those 2 eyes match. Oh no. I do that all the time. Let me go check and see if I can find the right one that go together. Okay, I found the 2 that actually match. This color is called Heather, and the other one I had, which is very similar, it's just the color shifting part of it is different. That one I called Amethyst. These are so pretty though. So we want to put them on between rows 6 and 7. So just start at the bottom and then count your way up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right about here, you can lay it down flat. And we have our row space right here. And then we're going to kind of want to put 4 or 5 stitches between, whatever you think looks best. Because little details like that really change how the plushie looks. So in my opinion, that looks a little too close together. So I'll move them like that. And I always like to point the pupils up this way, but you could point them down, straight up. You could do anything that you'd like. All right, so that looks good to me, pretty much centered. And with super small plushies like this, I'm just going to turn it inside out to attach the eyes. I'm not going to like struggle with that. And there, it'll make attaching the eyes super easy. And now to use the eye tool, it's really simple. I make other ones that have a lot of different holes for smaller size eyes. But this one I like because it works for 14 millimeter all the way to 25 millimeter, which is the most common size of eyes that I use. So I like that it just works for everything. You can push down like this or like this. It's totally up to you. I think this is the more common way to push the eyes down. I actually think it's more sturdy like this, so a lot of the times I'll just use this unless I'm like seriously having an issue getting it. And then I just put all my weight on it until I hear it snap. And I only like to snap it once because I'm using plush yarn, but if you want to, you could push it down like all the way. But your eye might just be like stuck in the fluff then. But it's not that bad. They make another style that's almost like pliers. I've never used it, so I'm not sure if they're harder or easier. Looks great. I like the purple, looks pretty cool. So we got the eyes. Let's continue on. We'll do the blush and the mouth later to make sure it's all where we want it. We're going to be decreasing and basically finishing off the plushie now. So it's a great time to stuff it and make sure it's how you like. And then you can add more stuffing after each row as we go. I was about to say this might be the easiest, smallest plushie I've made a video tutorial for, but those fruit slice little plushies are super easy. They're just like a circle folded in half. And when I'm stuffing it, I'm kind of pushing out these bottom corners and kind of trying to accentuate the corners because I wanted to keep the shape that we're trying to make. That feels pretty good. I like to make my plushies firmer just so they keep the shape that I want. And if you can see, I kind of tried to accentuate the bottom part a little bit. And now we can continue on with our decreases and adding more stuffing after each row. For the next row, we're going to be doing 3 single crochets and then an invisible decrease, and repeat that all the way around. These little food themed patterns are so much fun, and I just want to make a million of them. Kind of like my bakery friends. I just thought of every like baked good I could make a plushie for and made little versions of each one. One crochet artist that I really look up to, she makes food themed animals, and I'm pretty sure she made a pretzel snake, and that's like the cutest thing I could ever even think of. Okay, so we ended with an invisible decrease, and then we move our stitch marker, and we can continue on, and we're just going to be making 2 single crochets now, and then an invisible decrease repeated around. We're basically closing off the plushie. So right at the end, the last 2 stitches should always be part of your invisible decrease. Before we finish this, we're really gonna wanna make sure it's stuffed and shaped how we like, because we're just gonna be doing invisible decreases from here on out, and it's gonna get pretty small. We can invisible decrease, and I'll just use my finger to kind of hold the stuffing back a little so it doesn't get into my stitches. And a good tip to have is to be pulling it tight the whole time you're doing this so you don't get a bunch of holes. So try to keep your tension tight, and you can even be pulling it tight after each stitch. Now just leave a tail long enough to sew the hole closed and tie. It doesn't have to be too long because we're not really sewing anything on. And then to sew a plushie closed, I go around and I pick up the front loop only from each of the remaining stitches all the way around. And then when you go to pull it closed, it'll almost work like a magic circle. And if you want to take the time to check, see how it kind of looks like a hole? I'll just go over it once, just to check to make sure. That looks pretty good. There aren't any huge holes. So now I can just find a little loop, and I'll tie a knot 3 times to make sure it never comes out. Pull it into the plushie, and that'll hide it. But there we go. That looks pretty good. So now, sorry guys, but there is a little sewing on this one. When I first tried to make these, I tried to do the green with color changes, and it's just not worth it. Sometimes you have to sew stuff, okay? But I do have a trick I'll show you to kind of make the edges look a little neater. So let's crochet the little seaweed part really quickly, and then I'll show you how to sew it on. So again, we're getting lucky. We don't have to do a magic circle. We're gonna make a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 6. And just like before, we're going to skip the last chain that we made, the 6th chain, and we're going to work into number 5. Everyone always words that differently, and that's just how I word it because I think of it. Some people will say skip the chain on your hook, or skip your first chain or last chain. I don't know. I think it's just easier to say the 6th one because I was counting to 6 the whole time. So now we're just going to make 5 single crochets. And the same way we started the rice ball, we're just going to be working the single crochets into the chain loops. So there we go, that's 5. And now instead of going around and working, we're going to work this row by row. So chain 1, turn your work, and then we're going to make 5 single crochets back. And we're just going to zigzag back and forth like that for a total of 10 rows. So that was the first one. I'll show you how to do like the second and the third, and then I think you'll get the hang of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're about to make our last one. But you see there's always that little chain that we use to turn. If you can see it, you grab it and then make your last single crochet. And that'll, see how neat that edge is? And over here I didn't do that. So that's the chain that I didn't skip. So there's 10 rows for me. You can make this as long or as short as you like. It's totally up to you. And you can even try it on your plushie to see how it's gonna look. We want it to be about there. Then to wrap around the bottom. That looks good to me. So I'm gonna fasten off, but I'm gonna leave a long tail so I don't have to worry, because we're gonna be sewing it on, and I'll show you a little trick to make it look good. So leave a super long tail just so you don't have to stress about it. Fasten off, and now I kind of want to center it since we did 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can kind of line it up. And when you go to sew it on, try and keep it straight on that line. So we'll start on the part we're really going to see on the front to make sure that it looks neat and tidy. So just loop around the first of 5 stitches. And then I like to go through the back. And then up and around the next stitch. I've been meaning to get some of those little amigurumi sticks. I follow one person on Instagram who makes them by hand with like really unique charms, and they look super cute. Okay, so we're at the corner, and now see that's that chain 1 that we used to turn. So go through the normal single crochet and then grab that too, because we don't want anything looking messy. And then go right back into the same and go 1 down over. And that'll kind of get the corner. See, that looks pretty straight and even and good. If yours doesn't look that perfect, don't worry. I'll show you a trick at the end to really make it look nice and good. I'll speed this part up until we meet back around. So I made it all the way around, and for the most part, I got it looking pretty straight. But you see there's just some spots that could be better, especially around here where I was about to end. So I still have a lot left, which is great. These are basically the stitches I added it on with. So I'm going to use my yarn needle, and it's a little hard because I tried to put it on tight, but so we just go under the stitch we added it on. So you just loop around under the stitch we added it on, and see what we're basically doing is just laying down a flat line under all of those stitches, and that'll make it look super duper straight. Okay, I just finished going around, and it looks pretty good to me. You don't have to make it perfect. So I'm just going to go towards the back and then tie a knot 3 times like we have been, and then I'll hide the knot inside the plushie. Okay, for the last step, we'll add a smile and a little bit of blush to give him some personality. I'll show you how to make the wiggly mouth and a smiley face. So go ahead and grab some of your cotton yarn. Start at the center and the middle, maybe about there, close to his eye, but not right next to it. Pull it through, and then you can decide to go over 1 or 2 stitches or 1.5, whatever you'd like. Then go up right back exactly where you started. And now if you wanted him to have a cute little smile like that, you can stop there, tie your ends, hide it inside the plushie, and then use a tiny bit of Arlene's underneath and hold down the smile. If you want to do a wiggly mouth, this is what I do. You could split your yarn, and this cotton yarn is pretty tough, so it works. You could definitely use like sewing machine thread, would probably work even better than this. I just don't feel like digging through all my stuff to find some, and this color matches exactly. So now you see it's thinner. We just have 1 on there. And go right back through, and we want to get as close to the middle as we possibly can. Okay. And then we're going to loop around just the thread and go exactly back where we came. Do the same thing, and right in the top center. And now this part is finicky. Pull it tight to kind of hide that. And now you can pull down 2 little wiggles and try to make them even. You see this one I feel like is a little too close, so it's okay. You can always fix it this way. So you can just pull that up. Adding a smile is always hard because you kind of notice if it's a little off, and it's hard to get it exactly perfect. So it looks good and pretty even to me. Maybe that side. Yeah, I like that. So when you have it exactly where you want it, flip it up a tiny bit, and then we're going to add the tiniest small little bit of glue right on our yarn needle so we can really control where it goes, because this stuff works great, but the reason it works great is because it's super permanent. So if you get this anywhere you don't want it, it's probably never going to come out. And now just dab a tiny bit on the bottom side, on each side. And then you can wipe this off. and really position it how you want it, then it'll stay forever. I like this mouth even though it takes a little more time. I think it looks really unique and super cute, like kawaii style. And also it reminds me of the little animals and ghost I made for Halloween last year. I did this type of mouth with a nose for a lot of them. So now I'll let it set for just a minute to make sure it stays like that, because when we go to tie these, I don't want to mess anything up because it just took me a minute to make it like that. When you feel comfortable, you can just tie these 3 times, trim the ends, and use your crochet hook to pull it into the plushie. Now let's add a little blush, finish him off, and then he'll look perfect. I just take some of the coral blossom, I go in from the side, and then find a spot kind of right under the eye. It's totally up to you. I try not to ever touch the eye, but get as close as possible kind of, and you can even do it at a little angle. And I just loop around the stitch 1 or 2 times. That looks good right there. Go back in and end where I started. And then tie those ends 3 times and hide the knot inside the plushie. And there we go. There's our cute little rice ball snack. I love the wiggly mouth because he does look kind of hungry. And making this makes me want sushi so bad. But again, I live in the middle of nowhere down East Maine, and the closest sushi is probably 20 or 30 minutes away on the highway. One day though, I'll make the trek and I'll get some more green yarn too. Here's my new grilled cheese pattern that I was talking about earlier, and I made one that has jam on it too. I don't know if you remember, but I was talking about making a video tutorial for this little guy from my bakery friends pattern. I sat down to try to make it and then was like, oh, I could totally do this better. So I just designed 2 more sizes of it. I don't know, I need to stop doing that. But I like the new design a lot better because it looks more bread shaped. They're larger, and if you can see, the edges look a lot better because I used back post single crochets on it. I'll still work on making a little tutorial for this guy, and I'll make him a little cuter now that I have new ideas. Maybe I'll even turn him into a mini grilled cheese. I hope you guys loved the video and made a super cute little rice ball plushie. As always, I want to take a moment to thank my Patreon members. I just sent out the positive post for July, so they should be getting the packages soon. And I included little sushi themed stitch markers. I think a few people got the edamame ones. And I also snuck in little ginger chew candies. I think I'm going to start adding little treats to all of them because I might have bought like 4 different awesome treats I saw at the store just for the packages. I'll probably have a pattern tester call for the big toast and grilled cheese sandwich pattern. I'm almost done with the pattern PDF, but it was actually challenging because I went into it thinking, oh, it's just going to be simple. It's like a bread. A larger version of the bread I already made. It wasn't. It was pretty hard to make the back because I had to decrease the same way I increased so that the back didn't turn into like a round ball, and the back was bread shaped too. So it took me like 4 or 5 different bread versions to finally get the pattern right where I liked it. So I still want to make a few more from the pattern PDF just to check to make sure I changed everything to be the current version. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July weekend. It is now officially Halloween season, so I'm gonna get started on my Halloween patterns, and if you have any suggestions for Halloween themed tutorials, leave it in the comment section and I will probably happily make them because it's the best time of the year. Alright, thanks for watching and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!